Good afternoon, Santa Clarita and everyone else streaming around the world. You're listening to a special broadcast called Healing from Las Vegas, How to Move Through Your Grief in a Powerful Way. I'm your host, Alex Urbina, transformational life coach, sitting in the studio with my co-host, Sharon Brubaker. She's a certified grief recovery specialist from A Time to Heal. We have Dave Lisnick in studio with us, joining us. Thanks for taking the time, Dave.
Good afternoon.
Appreciate it.
Great
Absolutely. Dave is the stepfather of a young woman who was in attendance at the Route 91 Las Vegas event. Dave, your stepdaughter was there with her boyfriend. I'm assuming they were enjoying themselves. They went there that weekend to celebrate and just get away from whatever stresses and struggles they got, in a daily, weekly environment. We go to Vegas to really enjoy ourselves, have a healthy celebration of life and just have a good time. And I'm sure that they were there. Your stepdaughter's boyfriend was shot in the chest. He was taken to the hospital and he survived, thank God.
Correct.
Walk us through your experience that night when you got the calls and, the panic and all the chaos. What was that like?
Wow. Okay. Well, my wife and I host a big camp trip for our church. We were up at Lake Buena Vista, about 250 people. It was a great event. Got home later on in the evening, and anybody that's camped knows that there's a lot of energy that you expend. And so we were pretty exhausted from the camp trip. Had a late dinner, took a shower, went to bed pretty late, and the phone rang. And we kind of have a policy at the house that phones are pretty much shut off after 10 p.m. And this came through about, after about 11:30 or so. So we knew it was serious. We jumped out of bed, and we could hear my daughter in hysterics, covered in blood. She's screaming that she's covered in blood. Her fiance was covered in blood. He was shot. The girl that was right in front of them at the concert was killed. And, time just kind of stops when you're on the phone trying to process this. And she was in hysterics. She was screaming. We turned on the TV. She said that there was 2 people that were killed. There was 50 people that were injured, and were watching it on the TV at the time. And we knew that this was much bigger than just a shooting. I guess the first thing that went through our mind was somebody pulled a gun on him and robbed him, and he got shot. But as we, over the next few minutes, we saw this was much, much bigger. She was afraid, terrified, felt alone because she knew that he was going to need surgery, and she was just left in the hospital waiting room. So she said that the freeways were closed, we couldn't get through. And I decided that it would be a lot better to drive there and wait in traffic so that when they open the freeway, we'd be 5 minutes away rather than sit here.
Of course.
Be 4 hours away. And trust me, we're not going to sleep. It was just horrifying. So I pulled my children together, my 17-year-old, my 21-year-old, and 22-year-old at the time, and it just let them know that we needed to hit the road and get to Las Vegas as quick as we could. So they were afraid, they were shocked, and very, very afraid. And so we pulled everybody together. We prayed as a family, just for miracles, and that God would take care of my family at home while my wife and I went to go meet the needs in Las Vegas. And so we went to my daughter's fiance's mom's house to really go console her and see if she wanted to join us. The reports that we got at that moment was that he got shot in the chest and it was a superficial wound to his right breast. That's what they told us at the time. So we anticipated that he would need a surgery and we'd be bringing him home within a day, 2 at the most. So his mom felt that he would be okay, so she stayed. We drove directly to Las Vegas. It was an eerie drive because there was a lot of police officers that were driving. One of the people that was shot was an Ontario police officer, so we saw Ontario PD driving, news vans driving to cover the event. And so we finally got there. I want to say it was probably about 4:15, 4:30. On the way, we called to make sure that we got a hotel reservation, go to the hospital, and it was a madhouse. It was chaos. It was a triage. There were so many families that were shocked at sunrise, and they were processing the victims. Obviously, there were many that were killed. There were many that had immediate life-threatening injuries that needed immediate surgery. And so the victims that could be delayed, they delayed. And my daughter's fiance was one of those that got delayed.
This is at 4 or 5 a.m. That next morning.
Correct.
So a lot of people didn't even go to sleep. There was probably just people bunkered around, hanging around, almost like zombies, just still in shock and waiting, right? And then a lot of family members.
Yeah, the adrenaline kicks in, and so nobody was tired. I mean, because you were just on adrenaline. And so we met with my daughter, and we decided, she needed to get cleaned up. So we got a hotel rather close to sunrise, and so she showered, cleaned up a little bit, and we just tried to rest for a little bit until he went into surgery. So we got a call. It was a couple hours later to get back over to the hospital. They were going to start getting ready to process him for surgery. So it was probably about 9:15, and we met with the nurse, and she told us the plan, that it was a superficial wound. They were going to go in, clean him up, stitch him up, probably be released Tuesday. Couple-hour surgery. So we felt hopeful at that point, but in the surgery waiting room, you could see just so many families that were coming in from out of town and were traumatized. And it was a wave. It got more and more and more over the hour or two that we were waiting. So after about half hour, the nurse comes back out, calls us into a private room, which we knew was not a good sign. Expecting it to be a 2-hour surgery, so they pulled us into this private room, and they shared that the bullet entered from above his right breast and cut down across his chest, and the bullet fragments penetrated into his muscle tissue and then continued into, they weren't sure whether it was his liver or his spleen. So it went completely across his chest and was going to need to have his breastplate opened up because the bleeding was compressing against his heart, and they needed to relieve that pressure, and that it was a much, much more serious surgery. They had to call in a cardiology surgeon that was not there at the hospital. He was doing surgeries at another hospital. So they would let us know later. And that was a major turning point for the family to really embrace the fact that this may not go the way that we thought, that we were hoping. It was not going to be a minor surgery. And the reality was that there was a chance that he might not make it. and it was a very terrifying moment for the family. So we started praying, and really trying to reach deeper to my daughter and be a support for her, to be a support for his other family members that were there, and to kind of process it in a different way, that for us to hold back what we were feeling, but then to really be there as a support. So a couple hours goes by, and the doctor came out and shared that it was a very successful surgery. He was going to be okay. And, in the middle of this whole thing, I'll just share this, that the community rallied around the victims' families in just an enormous way. Because, when we left, it was a mad dash. Jump in the car and take off. We didn't think about anything that we needed to bring, a couple shirts, a couple pairs of pants, get out of here. And Las Vegas, businesses, individuals were opening the floodgate while we were at such a vital moment. There were restaurants coming up and just saying, hey, listen, I don't know when the last time you ate was, but I bet you're hungry. Here's some food. People were bringing all kinds of essential toothbrushes, and you name it, everything that you would need. So doctor came out, said everything was going to be fine. More relatives came in. His mom flew in immediately because this was going to be a lot more of a long haul for recovery than just a day or so. So he came through the surgery wonderfully, very strong young man, and so he really began the journey to heal. There were a lot of other people in that surgical waiting room that our hearts really went out to, because the fact of the matter, we were a lucky family. That if he would have sat or been standing with his chest turned 1 inch, and that was really hard for me to embrace how fortunate he was to walk away, but 1 inch. I mean, if you just turn your shoulder 1 inch, and that was a matter of life or death. There were a lot of surgeries that were going on, and the doctors were going to other families that had gone through 1, 2, 3, even 4 surgeries. And there was bad news after all of these surgeries, and they kept just bursting into tears and weeping. And we're sitting there feeling really, really fortunate. There was so many emotions that we were going through from our perspective with our family, and looking over at other families and trying to be a help for them.
So it sounds like it was a roller coaster of emotions. Is that the first tragedy you've ever been in your entire life?
To that extent, yeah. I mean, deaths in the family that were a shock.
But nothing to this magnitude.
But nothing to this magnitude, where family members are listening to music and having a great time, to within seconds, people dying all around them. And one of his friends was a first responder, and he was there watching the concert, and it took him probably, I think he said 2 minutes before he could embrace that this was not part of the show. And he was recording it on his phone. And it didn't dawn on him that it was a shooting until one of the bullets ricocheted and hit this metal bar that was right beside him. That's when he knew that this was, that the people that were on the ground were dying.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about Dave and Linda's story is that the perspective that they bring to it as one being parents that came up there to be with their daughter, but second, it was like almost like having a second pair of eyes, because all the people that had gone through the event were stressed out, feeling the feelings that they were feeling, but here was a set of parents that just gone through, and some of the stories they told me about just being at the hospital and just looking at it, it was almost like they were stepping outside of the situation and looking in.
What I visualize is the people that were there, that were in it, were still
Yes.
trying to process what was going on.
Very much so.
So they were kind of behind, maybe hours or even days of processing fully what's happening. You guys are processing as you're on your way or driving up there. You're talking about it. You're getting bits and pieces of information, and you're processing it from third-party perspective. So as you're pulling on the scene, you have those that are still trying to wrap their mind around it, and some of them were probably even coming up to you and still in this fog that you probably helped them fill some of the missing pieces that they couldn't figure out on their own, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, while we were in the surgical waiting room, one of my friends, she's actually a vendor of mine for our business, she came around the corner and saw me, and so she calls out my name, and I turn around, and she was still in her the clothes that she wore at the concert. Her friend got shot, and she was very hysterical, going into surgery. And so there was I guess as the time went on, there was a bonding of the victims' families and the support to share the story. What did she see? What did you go through? What are you feeling? And just talking a lot and trying to help people deal with the shock. I would say over the course of the week that we were there, let's see, he was released Friday. So there was a lot of people that had minor surgeries that were released rather quickly, Monday, Tuesday. There were others. So as that band of victims and families started to go home, Wednesday, Thursday comes by, and the reality was that this next wave of victims, it's much more significant. It wasn't like, a shrapnel wound or an arm wound. These were people that were severely injured. And, I remember one family in particular that was there for the officer from Ontario, and they were celebrating and just happy and joyful that he was able to walk. He was on his feet, he was alert, but he had a one-word vocabulary. Hi. That was it. And his life is, for the next number of years, is going to be significantly impacted because he has to go through therapy just to learn how to talk again. And as you saw these relatives, they were ecstatic because he got shot in the head. And just lots of these families that you knew the impact of this was going to be so much more severe than even our my daughter's fiance. His health was impacted, but he still has his mind. He still has all of his bodily functions. He still has the ability to walk and talk. And there are a lot of, we were even out there 3 weeks ago for a different event, and we went back to the hospital to bring gifts to some of the nurses. And that nursing staff, those doctors and the nursing staff, they are angels to us. Relea and Renee and just so many of the nurses that helped. Every time they came into the room and talked to us, I would follow them back out into the aisleway. Express my gratitude for the career choice that they made, because they're first responders. They go through the training, but this is the first time really that something like this severe occurred. And when I'd ask them, how are you doing? How are you holding up? Tell me your story. They all broke down in tears because they were able to step away from their professional mode. And I'm just so grateful for the choice that they chose for their career.
Yeah, no, they're absolute angels for sure. Sharon, before we go on a break, I just want to have you talk a little bit about, because this is the first time we've had a family member, right?
Yeah.
Rather than somebody that was there. For all the other families that are either out there that are listening, they've gone through their own experience. And earlier I talked about this roller coaster of emotions.
Right.
What's that about?
That is being numb at times, wanting to talk at times, not being able to say a word, and absolutely not knowing what it is, or just sitting down and crying. That could be any of those things that you can be up or down, or you could actually be laughing.
It looks 100 different ways.
It looks 100 different ways, and it feels 100 different ways. And I know we're going to go to break, but one of the other things I like to talk about is them being the parents and coming there for their daughter, and how were they at the outside looking in, trying to be able to help her. And what was that a lot like?
Yeah, because earlier he said we focused on trying to be there for my daughter.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have some more questions. I didn't want to interrupt him. So when we come back from the break, let's talk a little bit more about what does it look like to be there to support those people that are in that suffering, that are in that phase of trying to figure out what to do, and really kind of just in distraught and being distressed and being worried about the people that they care about.
Yeah.
All right, stay tuned for more of Healing from Las Vegas right here on your hometown station, KHTS.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top-quality musicals and plays. Located in Old Town Newhall, the CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go to canyontheater.org. Are you dreaming of a white Christmas or wishing for a snowy day? The Church on the Way Santa Clarita is gearing up for a winter wonderland. We're packing our parking lot with over 20 tons of snow, complete with downhill sledding and a play area for the little ones. We've also got food trucks, inflatables, and free photos with Santa. Come out and join us on Sunday, December 17th at 6 p.m. For more information about the Church on the Way Santa Clarita and all that's happening in December, visit tcotwsc.org. Aloha, friends! We invite you to come by Honu Coffee, home of the best cold brewed coffee. What makes our coffee special is how our organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. We're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Honu Coffee on Lyons Avenue and Walnut in Newhall. Stop by and say aloha! Something big is coming to Castaic.
Is it a dinosaur, Bob?
No, Blanche.
Is it the 2020 Olympics?
No.
I know. We're finally hosting the World Cup.
No, silly. They're building Castaic High.
Bob, no way.
Go visit CastaicHighProject.com. You'll get all the latest details.
What's that web address again, Bob?
CastaicHighProject.com.
Again?
CastaicHighProject.com.
Bigger than a dinosaur?
That's right. CastaicHighProject.com.
Drugs or alcohol abuse can tear a family apart. In Santa Clarita, just like everywhere else, it's an epidemic. The Way Out Recovery is here to help. Call them now at 296-4444 or visit them on the web at thewayoutrocoveryscv.com. The Way Out offers outpatient treatment for adolescents, adults, and family members. The Way Out is compassionate, caring, professional, and confidential. You and your family don't have to suffer any longer. Call The Way Out Recovery now, 296-4444, or visit thewayoutrocoveryscv.com and make an appointment. Asking for help is the first step.
With
Facey Medical Group, good health is within your reach. Our doctors provide Santa Clarita's finest primary and specialist care at 4 convenient Santa Clarita locations. If you're looking for connected, convenient, personal care, there's no better place. We accept most health insurance, including plans offered through Covered California. Call 1-844-MY-FACEY for more information or to schedule an appointment.
KHTS.
And welcome back to this special broadcast called Healing from Las Vegas. I'm Alex Urbina, hanging out with Sharon Brubaker. We have Dave Lisnick in studio with us. He was just sharing his story about his stepdaughter being in attendance at the Las Vegas event, Route 91, where her and her boyfriend were there getting away for the weekend. Her boyfriend was shot, and then you were sharing your story about what it was like to get the news, to be in shock, and to what a leadership role it took, I think, from you to kind of gather your family, get a prayer, get centered and grounded, to prep yourself to go and support your daughter. And before we went on a break, we were talking, Sharon, a little bit about what was it like for them to rally around their daughter and really support her in a healthy way, because there's unhealthy way to support people, and then there's a healthy way. Not that one is good, bad, right, or wrong.
Absolutely.
It's just what's more effective. What was the effective way that they either could or probably did support their daughter?
And when we don't know what we're doing, we go back to what we know, right?
Correct.
So we automatically revert back to what we know.
Because sometimes we think we can help somebody, and our helping is sometimes enabling them, or sometimes our help is really getting in there and not supporting them in a healthy way to move through the process.
And I would imagine, I don't know, but as a parent, I would imagine that I would want to fix this. Or we have this urge to be strong for them.
That's
I
right.
have to be strong because she's falling apart right now. And through what we do through those being strong parts, sometimes are not helpful to the griever or the one that's going through it or having a broken heart. And it's like you said, it's not that it's wrong or right, but knowing that the way to go in our gut is sometimes can be wrong, can be hurtful to the person who's actually experiencing it.
So being strong, let's talk about that for a minute, because a lot of times we, as human beings, right, our ego gets in and it says, hey, be strong for the family. Be that leader, be that role model, be the one that guides everybody. And I think from a man's perspective, I think I grew up with that kind of mentality that you got to be strong. To me, growing up, being strong means not to feel my feelings. And now as a conscious adult growing up, I'm learning that giving myself permission to feel what I'm feeling is being strong. It's giving people permission to say, it's okay if he's that big, strong guy is allowing himself to feel those feelings, and maybe it's okay for me to feel them too. So that is sometimes holding the space or modeling that it's okay to be freed up to experience your experiences.
You're 100% right, but let's look at the flip side of that coin, right? So the be strong is not showing your feelings, taking in all the pain that you can, trying to fix the situation, trying to make it right. I'm going to be strong for you, sister, because you can't handle this right now. So I'm going to make this phone call for you.
So there's
I'm gonna do
multiple
this for you.
components to be
being
so-called being strong.
Right. Yeah. So, and what happens is, I know that be strong is one of my go-tos. So I won't allow my feelings to come out, because there's no time for my feelings right now, because this is all about you. I need to make sure you're comfortable and that you're going through this okay, and that I try to ease this up for you. At the same time, I may be going through something and experiencing something, but I'm denying my own grief and loss.
As a business professional or personally? Because I think there's sometimes there's two different roles.
Two different roles for sure. And I take this back to when my nephew passed away. That was my whole thing, was to be strong for Erica, right? She and I are 10 years apart. I'm the older sister, and it was my job to do the things I needed to do. I needed to call the sheriff's station. I needed to call the funeral homes. I was doing all that. Well, lo and behold, 2 years later, when her second son passes away, and I'm also a grief recovery specialist, I went right back to what I knew. I dug in, except this time, knowing the difference is, I would say out loud to her, okay, I'm being strong for you right now, but in an hour, I'm going to go in the room and I'm going to have my own moment. I'm going to have 5 minutes. I'm going to take that time. And so that was a little bit of a different twist on the being strong.
Got it. 2 questions for you, Dave. How did you support your daughter then, and has it changed, and how are you supporting her now?
Well, we reached out to Sharon. Sharon and my wife and I have been friends with their entire family for many years.
You guys are blessed. She's an amazing woman.
Yeah, she is.
Thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
And so we realized that it was very, very fragile emotionally for my daughter and for her fiance. And so to some extent, I think just being there meant a lot, that she had us to provide some minor amount of normalcy to her, that mom and dad are here.
So right off the bat, just you guys deciding to be there was a symbol of, we got your back.
This is a family event. We're here. We're here together. And we shared with both of them, I'm not coming home without my family. My family and I will be together through this, no matter how long it takes. That was difficult for them to hear because they realized...
Who's them?
My daughter and her fiance.
Got it.
Because they know that my wife and I own our own company.
Right.
And that when we're not in our at our office, that there's a cost to it. We again, we're a Christian family. We go to Santa Clarita Church of Christ, and we believe in God enough that we realize He's going to take care. He's much bigger than this.
Right.
He's going to take care of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't know what the answers are, but the first thing was to make sure that my daughter and her fiance knew that we were there for them.
Well, it's
They
funny
had-
because whether they believed it or not, what a beautiful stand you took.
Right.
Right. That's what sometimes what's called, I took a stand. And
Yeah.
the stand is, I'm not coming home without you.
Right.
And how inspiring that is too.
Well, and it made them the first wave emotionally with that was it made them feel uncomfortable because they knew that it was going to impact us somehow, some way, and so they really offered and suggested that we leave on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and that they would have other family members rotate in, and we just remained vigilant that when you're released and you can come home, then I'm taking you in my vehicle. We're coming together.
What a beautiful statement.
So, go ahead.
I want to just throw in real quick. You're actually dealing with 2 different people. And so imagine this. The person that called you on the phone was your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got there, the person, maybe even a couple hours later that you're dealing with, was a young woman who has her life together. And I don't need my daddy anymore. So it was almost like you were kind of dealing with 2 different personalities.
Yeah. Well, and it really where it culminated for me as a dad, and was her fiance had lost his dad when he was a teenager, and within a couple days he kind of broke down and he said that it feels like he has his dad back. And that's really what made me confident that the decision that we made was the right decision to really help, love unconditionally. And when they needed us to say nothing, we said nothing. But it's very difficult to figure out in the moment what's the right thing to say and we should say nothing.
But that's the great challenge of being conscious, is trust in the moment, that if you're listening to your spirit will constantly guide you on making the right choices. When you're up in your head, listening to your ego, which is operating out of fear, is always having you kind of tippy-toe and untrusting yourself. What I love about what your story is that it's very faith-based, and it's operating and it has you, and it tells a lot about where you were operating from, which was trust, and operating from faith. Like, Don't worry about my business. I trust. Don't worry about where we're going to go next. I trust. So it's very heavily faith based, and it obviously carried you through this whole situation. I have a question that has kind of been burning in my heart, and I wanted to ask you this. Are you proud of your daughter for the way that she handled this situation?
Absolutely.
Have you told her that?
We did early on. I probably need to come back and say more frequently.
Let's assume that
Yeah.
she's listening.
Yes.
What would you say to her?
Honey, I love you so much. You're a daughter that makes me proud. I can't even comprehend what you went through going from a song to terror within seconds. You handled it in a way that just makes me so proud of you. As a dad, as a man, as a bystander, there were probably people that were there that were just in amazement of how you handled this, and I'm so proud of you.
Beautiful. So you got to see your little girl just go through so many challenges and become a powerful woman who stood there by the man that she loved the most, and just really and I'm sure that it was like moments where you had to kind of catch yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it's check out, check in, check out, check in.
Well, absolutely. I'll just share this, that I don't know how people got my phone number, but this was a worldwide event with lots of media, and I was getting phone calls, and I won't say the names of the show, but major shows that were calling me on my cell phone and wanting to set up interviews with them and interviews with me. And what I told the producer, who was on his way to the hospital, was that I'd have to call him back and kind of feel out the situation from where they were at. What could they handle as far as speaking? The show wanted to meet with them one-on-one, and I asked them to define one-on-one. Is that one-on-one in a film crew, or is that one-on-one? And of course it was with a film crew. So I told them that I'd have to call them back because it wouldn't be worth it to step over the boundaries and lose their trust with my daughter and her fiance. And somehow it got out to her that she heard that I was on the phone, and it really bothered her. So I told her immediately that this is going nowhere else. I'm calling them and telling them to pass. It would not achieve the goal of helping them grieve through it at that moment in time.
Right.
And so then they wanted to interview me, and I just felt at that time that, again, it would violate her trust. It would probably take me 10, 20 years to gain it back, and that there would be plenty of time to interview other people, but I really wanted to protect my daughter and her fiance and my family from anything that would harm them in any way. And it was just too early. They needed the time.
I love that story.
Yeah. His whole story.
great
I
story.
love their stories because I really love the parent aspect of
Yeah.
being there so quickly, and really bringing it in.
And to be mindful enough to say, what's the purpose? Like to really sit back instead of just being blindsided by, 5 minutes of fame, or just, you really sat there and you thought, what's the better intention for the whole family? What's really going to support my daughter, rather than just jumping at anything that is, thrown my way. And it really says a lot about you really just being aware of what she needs and what he might need.
Yeah.
How are you guys now? What's changed?
Well, our gratitude for the small things in life, for sure. You don't know when your last breath is going to be. You don't know if you're going to be able to cross the street. We're in chaos right now in Southern California with fires. You don't know when anything is going to change. And having Thanksgiving together with them was very
Oh, that's cool.
meaningful.
I've always told a lot of my clients that gratitude has different levels. And a lot of times they go, what do you mean by that? And I said, until you've experienced loss, gratitude gets sweeter and sweeter. You really become grateful in more moments more often. You're really more present in the moments, and you're observing and appreciating things when you haven't really had that kind of shake up or had that kind of tragedy to go through where things just were taken for granted. When you're working with people that are grieving, where's the gratitude stage? Is that a little bit further down sometimes in the process?
I think it's from the minute it happens. From the very minute it happens, because I had to look for the gratitude in everything and the blessings that were going to come our way. Otherwise, I would have not been able to get through.
But is that depending on whether you lose the person or not? Because someone, when they lose a loved one, it could be challenging for them to find the gratitude even in that moment.
Exactly. And so I think it's a case-by-case basis and whether the person is looking for that. So, but when you look for it, it's going to be there for you. But sometimes you can be so mad. It's also, you're on that roller coaster. So what if anger is one of those things and I'm just not going to look for it?
And that's why I believe it's important that when you go through something very tragic in your life, that you reach out to somebody to support you in that process. And that's what I love about what you do, because you're always promoting the possibility that you might need somebody to walk you along that journey, or even walk alongside of you and kind of guide you and point things out. Since the moment I've met you, you've always have opened my eyes and opened up different perspectives to me that even in my own journey of consciousness or dealing with grief, you've painted a picture for me that really had me think about things that I couldn't see before. And I think that's the tool that you give people is, and then you do it with such a loving way that, you know what I mean? It's like, it's hard to not know that you're on our team and that you are compassionate for what we're feeling and going along. You really do go through the journey with people.
I go through the journey with people quite often.
And and you connect with us. It's not like you are standing on the outside, coaching us. You actually jump in the bubble with us and kind of walk us down that journey.
And think about having a guide that's already been through there and knows what a broken heart feels like. I absolutely don't know what your broken heart feels like, but I know what broken heart feels like. That's when I come from that space, it lets the training be something totally different, the journey be something totally different.
And it also lets the person know, I can trust you because you've been there before. It might not be specifically, but you've also had a broken heart, whether it was once or several times. Yeah. And you even helped other people along that journey. Yes. Why would I not want somebody with that kind of experience to be alongside my journey? All right, stay tuned for more of this show called Healing from Las Vegas, right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
California Credit Union, the only credit union in Santa Clarita focused on our educational community. California Credit Union offers low rates on loans for personal and business services, along with financial services for teachers, students, staff, and families. Free checking and very low new and used auto loan rates.
California Credit Union, your personal credit union, located in the River Oak Shopping Center next to Target.
Visit us and open an account today. Insured by NCUA, an agency of the federal government.
Do you like to rock across Africa?
Then the wait is over.
Africa Rocks! Africa's Greatest Hits is now available at the San Diego Zoo! And who could forget 99 red baboons?
Or the African crested porcupine smash hit, I Got Quills to Pay the Bills! Hey, don't get too close!
And the hits keep on coming!
Africa Rocks has all your favorites from 6 different African habitats.
Hungry like a leopard.
Ibex is back.
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
And a new track from Kendrick Lamar.
Now, Larry.
Yes, Chuck?
A collection of this magnitude, I'd fly to Africa.
Well, don't pack your bags, friend. Africa Rocks is only available right here at the San Diego Zoo.
Wow, that really does rock.
No, it Africa Rocks.
Welcome to Africa Rocks. Experience 6 different African habitats, including our first ever aquatic enclosure with African penguins, only at the San Diego Zoo.
Join us as we kick off the Santa Clarita Sheriff's Toy Drive at the Valencia Marketplace this Saturday noon till 3. Drop off a new unwrapped toy and make this holiday special for a Santa Clarita child. Drop-offs include Chuck E. Cheese, Stevenson Ranch Library, Jamba Juice, and Exer Urgent Care. Join the sheriffs, Magic Castle magician Dennis Farrell, climb aboard the KHTS fire truck, and win tickets to LA Zoo Lights. Noon on Saturday at the Valencia Marketplace on the Old Road in Stevenson Ranch.
Little Eye Leaders is the newest preschool in the Santa Clarita Valley. At Little Eye Leaders, our outstanding teachers lead with intellect, perspective, and heart. That means our programs provide a warm, nurturing atmosphere to meet the unique needs of each child. We believe that play is a powerful form of learning for young children. That's why our kids have every opportunity to learn through the magic and excitement of play. Parents, schedule a tour today by calling 303-0400 or online at littleeyeleaders.org.
Experience the spirit of giving and the thrill of savings at the Outlets at Tejon, a holiday shopping destination unlike any other. Shop amazing deals during extended hours all month long to find the perfect gifts for everyone on your list. Save up to 65% on over 60 of the top brands in fashion, accessories, and home goods, like Coach Factory Store, Gymboree Outlet, H&M, Pottery Barn Outlet, Nike Factory Store, Michael Kors, Express Factory Outlet, and more. Outlets at Tejon, your must-shop stop for the holidays. Located just 40 minutes north off I-5. For sales and events, join the VIP Club online at TejonOutlets.com or find us on Facebook.
Give and get at the Outlets at Tejon, where every purchase over $50 or more gives you a chance to win a gift from your favorite brands like H&M, Tommy Hilfiger, Coach, Skechers, Nike, Calvin Klein, American Eagle, Samsonite, Carter's, Columbia, Kevin Jewelers, and more. Visit TejonOutlets.com for official rules.
Drugs or alcohol abuse can tear a family apart. In Santa Clarita, just like everywhere else, it's an epidemic. The Way Out Recovery is here to help. Call them now at 296-4444 or visit them on the web at thewayoutrocoveryscv.com. The Way Out offers outpatient treatment for adolescents, adults, and family members. The Way Out is compassionate, caring, professional, and confidential. You and your family don't have to suffer any longer. Call the Way Out Recovery now, 296-4444, or visit thewayoutrocoveryscv.com and make an appointment. Asking for help is the first step.
KHTS.
And welcome back to the special broadcast called Healing from Las Vegas. I'm Alex Urbina with Sharon Brubaker. We've been speaking to Dave Lisnick. Dave, first off, I want to thank you for being here today and being willing to share your story. I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing. Yeah, sharing so vulnerably. It was such a powerful interview. The one thing I want to ask you before you go is, what kind of advice do you have for other families that are rallying around the people that they love that were there or affected by it, that still might be struggling or still might maybe be avoiding it or not willing to look at it or are stuck? What kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, it's something that I've thought about a lot because our faith has helped us through, our relationship with Sharon has helped us through, and I've often wondered, people that don't have a support, how are they processing it? And my advice would be to get yourself vulnerable, talk to somebody that can help guide you through those steps, because we all need something to hold on to, and between our faith and specialists that know emotional trauma and know emotional grieving can help. I know for my daughter and her fiance, their timing came about when we brought them home, and the city and KHTS had the vigil the following Wednesday. For them, that was the beginning of the process for them to speak about it, to talk to, they actually shared at the vigil, And
it was like an official invitation to say it's okay to start this process now.
Here's
right?
my story.
Yeah.
Grievers need to talk, and they need to be heard with respect.
And it was amazing that the whole community came together to talk together, to weep together, to pray together. It was the beginning, I think, of healing for my daughter and her fiance, but the community as well, because there was a lot of people that were affected and that were there. Whether they got injured or not, they were injured because they saw this madness occur.
So whether you were at the vigil, you have to realize how powerful vigils are. It's a statement by you being there. You're just one other head that's standing out there, or 4 other heads. But I was there at the vigil, and I was inspired just being a part of it because it made a statement. And I think that one of the biggest statements it made was that you're one of us, and if you're hurting, we're hurting, and we feel your pain, and we're here for you. It was a very powerful night, and man, it gives me goosebumps just talking about
and
it.
we love you, and we're going to take care of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, thank you for sharing again, and sharing your wisdom, and thank you for loving your family the way you do. They're blessed to have you for sure.
Thank you for having me.
And it's always an honor and a privilege to hang out with you on the radio.
This is always so awesome. And I want to send out great energy to all the people that are suffering right now with the fires. Just sending love and energy to you guys.
Absolutely. Stay safe. Look after your families. You've been listening to a special broadcast called Healing from Las Vegas. Signing off from KHTS.